This program is proudly brought to you by Gezal International Hotel.
Good evening, PNG. Welcome to another episode of Sports Scene, where I bring to you all local and international sporting updates. As always, I am your host, Jaylee Sapies. Let's head straight into the show. Coming up tonight, ECPIC Governor Allan Bird donates to the ECPIC athletes, and CRU's Valley Hunters prepares for the 2025 season. But before that, let's check out some local sporting updates. The annual JT Super Nines competition was officially launched last week at the Port Moresby South Stadium. A total of 128 teams have registered and set to participate. The JT Nines competition will see 50,000 kina in total prize money. The SPPNG Hunters and Central Dabaris trial match was hosted on Friday, February 7th and was deemed a success. The Central Dabaris used their entire squad in the 4 quarters as it was their first hit out for the year. Meanwhile, the SPPNG Hunters used some of their younger and more fringe players to give head coach Paul Ayton a look at what the future holds for the team. Pacific All Sports, in partnership with Netball Australia, will be hosting the Pacific All Sports Netball Series that will be taking place in Brisbane from the 17th to the 22nd of February 2025. PNG Peppers and Netball PNG officials will travel to Australia to participate. PNG Peppers will compete against Tonga, Fiji, Samoa, the Australian First Nations Black Swans, and for the first time, Scotland. The Peppers departed yesterday for Brisbane. Additionally, Australia's Pacific All Sports partnership with AFL will see the delivery of the AFL Pacific Academy Camp for under-16 females on the Gold Coast from the 19th to the 24th of this month, followed by the under-16 male training camp from the 19th to the 24th of March 2025. And moving on to the NRL now, the NRL has named the All-Stars men's teams for this weekend. Now on your screen right now are both the Indigenous side and the Maori side. It's time to take our first break of the show. Don't go anywhere, we'll be back with more on Sports Scene. Welcome back, you're watching Sports Scene. ECPIC Governor Allan Bird has made a significant donation towards his ECPIC athletes. We had a chat with Governor Bird about this, as well as the reasons for his support.
All right, thank you, Governor, for your time. Can you just please tell me about your recent support towards the ECPIC athletes?
Actually, it's not recent. We had a program since I first became governor to try and support all the sports and to try to see if we can discover some talent and to give young people an opportunity and a pathway. So it's been going on for about 7 years. But last year, we increased the support, particularly for athletics, because obviously our athletics program, we've got some good coaches there. So they've been organizing the young kids, particularly in the schools, organizing the competitions, training them. And obviously we've got results now. We've got 2 athletes in the US who are doing really well. I mean, young Isila, obviously, she won that medal, and, the entire country was like, who is that? Where did she come from? So, we discovered her in Nambunti, which is probably our last district, out of all the civic districts. Last would be Telefomina. So these guys are close to Telefomina. Last year, we've increased their budget. So they've got a substantial budget now. And as you know, they came down for the competition in Port Moresby. And they did really well. I think we got 2 golds and I think 5 silvers or something like that, and I don't know how many bronze. But like 7 years ago, in athletics, ECP wouldn't have won a single medal. So, that kind of fulfills the intention that we had, which is find the young people who have the talent, support them, and let's see how far they can go.
But now, are you able to just share the figures?
I think we started off with about 25,000 kina, and when we first started off, I think soccer and rugby league were getting the largest amounts, 100,000 a year, because obviously a lot of people were participating. And then volleyball, rugby union, and like a few other sports, they were all around 25,000, including athletics. Athletics was on about 25,000. I think we have separate funding, I have to confirm, for the Pikinini soccer, which is like a different, So they have their own funding. So athletics was on 25,000. Until last year, I think we've increased them to 100,000. 50,000 for their competitions, and the other 50,000 to organize an inter-school carnival, because I don't think ECP has had a carnival for the last 30 years or something. So try to bring the young people together, and it kind of helps because our schools are also performing better. If you look at the top 10 schools in the country, you'll find ECP there now. 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we were not even in the top 20, I think. Many of our schools were performing poorly. So it sort of goes hand in hand with our education program in the province. We want our kids to do well academically, but not everyone is academically gifted. They all get the same opportunities, but for athletics, and not just athletics, other sports, if we can find the talent, we try and support them, and hopefully they can make something of it.
With your support towards these athletes, what sort of qualities do you think teaches these athletes?
In life, you're going to lose a lot. Once in a while, you're going to win. Okay. And I think if you're going to develop like future leaders, I don't mean politicians, but I mean like leaders in general. And like I've seen some of these young kids, like Isila. Isila was a shy young lady. Mary Blue Tok. Now you look at her, the confidence now. So she's a leader for young women, so that she developed that because of sports. She's developed the confidence, she's winning competitions, she's doing well. It's good for her confidence, but I think it's also really good for not just Sipik young women, but Papua New Guinean young women. I think Isila's story is amazing. Embus Meria, Mary Town, but because we had a system that discovered her, and then the system helped her, like brought her down to Wiwek from Ambunti, Kisimem Kamputimem school, and then, helped develop her talent. Athletics Union of PNG picked her up. She's now in America, She's an athlete for the country, and she came from nowhere. It's a brilliant story. I think you guys should interview her one time and get her to tell the story,
Definitely, yeah. What's the biggest goal for you in terms of supporting these athletes?
My biggest goal is to change attitudes, really. If you look at Papua New Guinea, I think in the last 30 years, it's been very destructive. Look at all the stuff that has gone on in the country. People are unhappy. People feel like there's no hope. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. So for sports, and it's not just in sports, we've embraced the labor mobility program. A lot of people criticize the labor mobility program, and they're worried about money. For me, when I was advocating for the labor mobility program and I was talking to the Australians for Papua New Guinea, not just for Sipiks, I was in Canberra and I said to them, the way I see the labor mobility program is that it's a classroom where we can change the mindset. You see, at home in Sipik, most of our young people, they're either in a settlement or they're in a village. And then as the young man is growing up and his body starts changing, he looks out the window, the first girl he sees becomes his wife. You see what I mean? And Beli Mempinis, all married now. So that's not just a Sipik story. That's a Papua New Guinean story. Okay. Now I want to change that. I want young people to know that there is an opportunity for them. You don't have to have a child at 18, And if we can provide those pathways and these people and it's not just sports, when young Isila and young Emmanuel actually came across, I actually flew them home and I had them talk to young people.
And now, with the funding, what sort of programs is it intended for?
The way I do things is different. I pay for results. So I trust the coaches to do their job. This is succeeding not because we're putting money. Money is one component of it. But, Mr. Limbai and his team of coaches, Mr. Wafi, these guys are doing an amazing job. I can't do everything as a governor. I need to find good people in the community who want to do good, and I support them to deliver the results. So, for me, I don't care what they pay for. It's like the police. We're one of the few provinces that actually funds police operations. I don't want to go and tell the police how to do their job. I just want the police to make my community safer. How they do that, and walk blow. I just want to pay for the results. So, in athletics, I'm getting the results, and I'm just happy with that. From 0 to how many athletes now? Man, that's amazing. I'd give them, if it was a classroom, and ducks blow class, I'm online low athletics. They're doing really well, and I'm supporting them.
What do you think the biggest challenge is for the athletes themselves?
For us in ECPIC, facilities. Okay, we need better facilities. We need a gymnasium, and I want to build one. We need a sporting precinct, and so, member for WIWEC, the Honorable Stanley Samban, he spearheaded the, attracting the PNG Games to CIPIC. So hopefully that's going to help us in building the facilities we need for our athletes. But at the same time, us, the provincial government increasing the funding to the athletes is to try to get a good group of CIPICs ready for the PNG Games. So when the games do come to ECPIC, our athletes are ready. So part of my intention to increase that funding to 100,000 a year is to get them ready. So biggest challenge, we might need more coaches, obviously, good coaches, but facilities and big plus something like good plus track. And if we're going to do javelin and shot put and some of these other things, then we need good equipment. Or if they're going to do steeplechase or this or hurdles or whatever it is, those if it weightlifting, we don't do weightlifting in ECPIC because we don't have a gym, we don't have weights. I've put some money to build a gymnasium at Moim Barracks because I want CIPIC athletes to go in house and Larim Stabon and Soldier, but we go and use the facilities. So we're trying to do that. And the PNG Games is going to give us that opportunity to really build that capacity. So, we never know what talent is there. You look at weightlifting, who would have thought Hano Bada? I take my hats off to those guys. They've done brilliantly well. I might have a village in ECPIC that's equivalent to Hano Bada, but we don't know. We don't know what's there. So if we can build our facilities so that young people go and take part, then we find out what's there.
Just one last question before we wrap things up. PNG's 50th anniversary this year. Do you have a message for the public you'd like to share?
I want to celebrate what the forefathers did, Olabun Bloimi Somare and his team of leaders, they had a vision. And they went out and did something truly amazing. I feel that we should have taken it a lot further. We should have done a lot more. We haven't. But we need to recognize the effort that those people put in, Somare and his team of leaders, and what it was they wanted to achieve.
Right, let's take another break, but don't go anywhere. When we return, we speak to CRU's Valley Hunters. Stay with us. Welcome back to Sports Scene. If you have just tuned in, not to worry, you can check out our Facebook page for any updates that you may have missed. But moving on, we caught up with 2024 Capital Rugby Union champions Valley Hunters at their training session to see how they are settling into the new season.
long rest, and coming off victors last year has propelled quite the turnout for training these last day. This is the second day in training, and already there's a lot of energy. There's a lot of movement within the ranks just to get the team back on the field, get the program going for all the grades. We're excited, and I think 2025 is going to be a very good year for the Valley Hunters again. In everything, the game is always evolving. There's a lot of new plays, and the coach definitely went back home after the grand final and did a ton of homework. Over the off season, we've been slowly being fed numerous plays that we'd like to see employed this year. So we want to truly redefine the game of rugby union in Papua New Guinea and truly bring us to a platform where it's a game that's acceptable and probably beyond the country's borders. The way we think, the way we manage the game, the way the plays come together, just trying to step away from that one-dimensional game that we've been seeing for the last decade or so. So in terms of improvement, that's probably where we're going to try to target. We've had quite an influx of players. Some original players from the club before that went out and they've come back and they're now taking their space amongst the ranks. We've got some new recruits from the other clubs, and we're hoping that they've seen our culture, they've seen what we're capable of, they've seen what the team was able to put together within a rather short amount of time, and I'm sure they want to be a part of that goal. I mean, look, it's a dream to be finishing last in 2023 and then finishing the top of the ladder in 2024. So that rhetoric will be riding high for everyone, and I'm sure they want to align themselves with that kind of a mindset. As you can see, I'm already sweating, and look, the energy is really high. You can hear the boys in the background, a lot of vocals, a lot of encouragement, and look, it's only the beginning. And with that kind of energy, it helps welcome all the newcomers into the team as well. They immediately begin to see there's a culture in play. They begin to see that there's a sense of camaraderie. You get that at the very beginning. The talk is up there, so you can definitely expect the energy to be extremely high. But that's just the second day. You come back and you ask me this question in the next 2 to 3 weeks' time, I can promise you it'll be a lot more different, probably a lot more intense. Well, the goal for us, JLE, is to honestly improve in our game. By no means was our game perfect in 2024. We probably executed about 30% of what we planned in terms of what we delivered on the grand final day. Other things fell back to just the basic structures that we had, but a lot of our game is quite entrepreneurial in the sense that it's a thinking man's game. There's plays there that we typically don't see within the Papua New Guinean front, but I think you're going to really see that come to the forefront of our game in 2025. Well, for us, I think the biggest challenge, well, first and foremost, I know that the teams will see what's being done. They're going to see a team that was not necessarily within the top four, that typically did not make the finals in its entirety in its history. And I know they're going to be really taking their training seriously. And I'm sure they've probably learned a few things or so from the way Valley Hunters has progressed. And I know that they've also gone back to the drawing board and tried to put together some new ideas, some new plays. And I know recruitment must have been pretty solid for some of the teams. I've seen on social media, the teams have already started training, and I'm looking at some of the guys taking the field. They're not small boys, you know, they're pretty big. And it looks like they're pretty hungry to make a difference this year. So, look, that's going to be a big challenge. We just need to fall back to our training. I'd like to thank obviously all our sponsors. We've got quite a few this year from the top of my head. Goodness me. I'm probably worried a couple of them. Obviously, we're very grateful to our corporate world. And I'm sure we'll be able to get some of that in detail later on from me today. But right now, we're using a lot of background from Frank Genya in terms of his circle of influence. And look, I want to seriously acknowledge the coach for just being patient with us, for working with us, for putting in the time and the effort. It's going to be exciting this year, and I can promise you it'll be a very different 2025 for PNG Rugby, especially from the CRU competition.
It's always good to see young men not only keeping fit but determined to do bigger and better. All right, it's time for another break, but do not touch the dial. We will be back after these short messages. Stay with us. Welcome back to Sports Scene. Now it's time to find out what's happening in the international sporting world. Philadelphia Eagles denied Kansas City Chiefs a Super Bowl three-peat with dominant defense. They won 40 points to 22. Quarterback Jalen Hurts earned MVP honors after throwing for 2 touchdowns and running for 1 more. Thomas Dirty got his first PGA Tour victory. He nearly aced the Rowdy's 16th hole in a stretch of 4 closing birdies, shooting a 6 under 65. Moving on to chess now, reigning world champion Diego Cash's winless run continued in the year's first event of the Freestyle Chess Grand Slam Tour in Germany. After losing to world number 2 Fabiano Caruana in the first game of the quarterfinals on Sunday, the 18-year-old resigned in 18 moves in a must-win second game on Monday. Gukash will now fight for a 5th to 8th place classification spot, while the American advanced to the semi-finals. And moving on to hockey, Sidney Crosby says he's good to go for Canada at the Four Nations face-off after getting injured in one of Pittsburgh's final games before the break in the NHL season. Luka began the possible day of his debut with the Los Angeles Lakers by donating $500,000 to fire recovery efforts in his new community. And in golf, Tiger Woods has withdrawn from the Genesis Invitational at Torrey Pines on Monday, saying he was still processing the death of his mother. His mother died unexpectedly last Tuesday at the age of 80. Track and field moved toward adopting rules that would place athletes assigned female at birth but have higher testosterone levels, like Caster Semenya, under the same set of rules as transgender athletes who were born male and transitioned to female. But that is it for what's trending this week. Let's take a look at some sports history now. On this day, February 13 in 1974, James Bell was named into baseball's Hall of Fame. Now, James Bell was an American center fielder and pitcher in Negro League Baseball and the Mexican League from 1922 to 1946. He is considered to have been one of the fastest men ever to play the game. And here is our sports quote for this week by Rafael Nadal, who is a former professional tennis player. He says, "I always work with a goal, and the goal is to improve as a player and as a person." Also, did you know in October 2005, Rafael Nadal was diagnosed with Müller-Weiss syndrome. This is a chronic condition that affects the navicular bone, leading to its progressive collapse. For tennis players like Nadal, the navicular bone plays a crucial role in their movement on the court. So to deal with that and still be regarded as one of the best tennis players in the world is a massive achievement. Some sports facts there for you. But don't forget, whatever you're doing this weekend, stay hydrated and take a hat if you are going to be outdoors. Before we wrap things up, if you have a sports-related story you'd like us to cover, please contact us on 312-9229, or you can Facebook us, email us, or drop by our office at Level 2 Garden City, Boroko here in Port Moresby. That's a wrap for tonight's show. Thank you so much for your company. It's always good to have you on board. Do join me same time, same place next week right here on your number one to watch. I am Jaylee Sapies, and this was Sports Scene. Good night for now.
This program was proudly brought to you by Gazelle International Hotel,